The narcissist believes they are invincible, their manipulation an unbreakable weapon, their charm a trap no one can escape. In their eyes, you are merely a pawn in their game, a source of admiration and emotional supply, nothing more. They assume that you will always stay under their control and will forever bend to their will. They see you as predictable, weak, and incapable of challenging their authority. But here's the truth: they never imagined you could rise above their grasp. This is what the narcissist never thought you would do: defy them, dismantle their illusions, and make them regret their actions until the end of their days. They never thought you could reclaim your power, rebuild your confidence, and strip away the layers of control they cloaked themselves in. And yet, that's exactly what you're about to do. The narcissist thrives on your pain, feeding off your self-doubt and using your vulnerabilities as tools to elevate their false grandeur. They construct an image of themselves as untouchable, desirable, and all-powerful, expecting you to align with their narrative. But when you refuse to play their game, when you step out of their shadow and expose their lies, they are left shattered, faced with a reality they are unequipped to handle. In this journey, you will not only escape their toxic grip, but also turn the tables. The actions they never thought you capable of will strip away their sense of superiority and leave them grappling with the very emotions they inflicted on you: regret, humiliation, and despair. These actions are not about petty revenge. They are about freedom, your freedom. They are about reclaiming your identity, your peace, and your future. Today, we will explore 14 unrelenting, transformative actions that will force narcissists to confront the one thing they fear most: their irrelevance. These steps will not only help you break free, but will also make them realize with agonizing clarity that their hold over you was never as strong as they believed. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt trapped under the toxic control of a narcissist, then this is the moment to reclaim your power. Subscribe to the Victory Stoic channel to join a community of empowered individuals who refuse to be silenced. Don't forget to like this video and share it with those who need to hear this message. Finally, let's affirm our collective strength in the comments below. Write "I choose freedom and power" to declare your commitment to breaking free from their grip. Your journey starts now. Are you ready to rise? Number 1. Refuse to be their emotional supply. The narcissist feeds on your emotions like a parasite draining its host. To them, your attention, your reactions, and even your pain are sustenance. They thrive on your praise when you're happy with them and relish in your agony when you're hurt by them. Your emotions, whether positive or negative, fuel their ego and reinforce their sense of superiority. Without your emotional energy, they are left empty, like a hollow shell desperately searching for the next person to exploit. But imagine this: you deny them what they crave most. You become cold, distant, and indifferent, a fortress they can no longer breach. When they provoke you with their carefully crafted drama, you offer no reaction. When they seek validation, you remain silent. When they demand your attention, you turn away. This refusal to engage cuts deeper than any confrontation because it sends a message they fear most: you no longer matter to me. A Stoic perspective. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This quote reminds us that our emotions are ours to control, not theirs to manipulate. By mastering your reactions, you take away the narcissist's power and reclaim your own. Your indifference becomes a shield, protecting your peace from their chaos. A real-life example. Picture this: a narcissist in your life stages one of their usual dramas. They pick a fight over something trivial, hoping to provoke you into anger or tears. In the past, you might have argued back, pouring your energy into defending yourself. This time, you take a deep breath, look them in the eye, and say calmly, "If that's what you think, you're entitled to your opinion." Then you walk away. No yelling, no explaining, no emotional reaction, just calm detachment. Or imagine a narcissistic coworker who constantly seeks validation for their hard work. They subtly criticize your efforts while fishing for compliments about their own. Instead of engaging, you respond with a neutral, "Noted," and shift your focus back to your tasks. No emotional supply, no fuel for their ego. Why this works? By refusing to react, you disrupt the narcissist's script. They expect you to play your role, whether as the admirer, the victim, or the defender of their fragile ego. When you refuse, they are forced to confront their emptiness. Your silence and detachment become their torment, and your carefully constructed sense of superiority begins to crumble. Deny them your emotions, and you deny them their lifeline. As you maintain your stoic calm, they will realize, with growing regret, that they underestimated the strength of someone who no longer needs them. Number 2. Set unyielding boundaries. To the narcissist, boundaries are obstacles to be crushed, lines to be blurred, and limits to be ignored. They thrive on invading your space, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. They manipulate, guilt trip, and charm their way past your defenses, convincing you that resistance is futile. For too long, you may have allowed them to dictate the rules of your relationship, to cross lines you were too exhausted or afraid to enforce. But not anymore. This is the moment you draw a line in the sand, not with hesitation but with unflinching resolve. The boundaries you set now are not suggestions. They are immovable walls, fortified by your self-respect and the lessons learned from their abuse. You are no longer the open book they can rewrite at will, the door they can barge through uninvited. You have become a fortress, and access to your time, energy, and emotions is no longer theirs to exploit. When you enforce your boundaries with unwavering conviction, the narcissist will struggle to adapt. They will try to push, manipulate, and coerce you back into submission, but every attempt will crash against the impenetrable wall of your newfound strength. Each time you say, "No, that is not acceptable," or "This is where it stops," you assert your power and expose their inability to control you. Their frustration will mount as they realize you are no longer the compliant, malleable person they once knew. A Stoic perspective. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your boundaries are the manifestation of this power. They remind the narcissist that their chaos cannot penetrate the calm, deliberate control you now hold over your own life. A real-life example. Imagine this. The narcissist tries to guilt-trip you into prioritizing your needs over your own. They call you selfish, cold, or ungrateful. In the past, this would have sent you spiraling into self-doubt. But now you respond with clarity. I understand that's how you feel, but I am not responsible for your emotions. My time and energy are mine to allocate. Their words, once so effective, now fall flat against your boundary. Or consider the family member who constantly invades your privacy, demanding to know every detail of your life. You calmly say, "That's not something I'm comfortable sharing," and refuse to elaborate. When they press, you repeat, "I've already answered." Your refusal to engage forces them to confront a version of you they cannot manipulate, a version they cannot overpower. Why this works? Setting unyielding boundaries doesn't just protect you. It forces the narcissist to face the limits of their control. They will rage, sulk, and try to break through, but each failed attempt reinforces their powerlessness. This realization will haunt them. They will regret every moment they underestimated your strength. Every time they crossed a line they now see as untouchable. Your boundaries are not just a shield, they are a declaration. They say, "I know who I am, and I will not let you define me." This is where your influence ends. And as they collide against this wall, again and again, they will realize too late that they have lost the one thing they thought they could never lose: their control over you. Number 3, respond with deadly silence. For a narcissist, silence is not just an absence of words, it is a dagger to the heart of their control. They thrive on your reactions, your arguments, your defenses, your pleas for understanding. These are the fuel that keeps their manipulative fire burning. But silence? Silence is their undoing. It is the void where their power once existed, the unspoken declaration that they no longer matter. To a narcissist, your silence is a grave they cannot escape, a haunting reminder of their irrelevance. When they provoke, they expect your anger. When they apologize, they expect your forgiveness. When they attack, they expect your defense. But when you respond with nothing, when your words, your energy, and your emotions are withheld, they are left alone with the one thing they cannot bear: themselves. A real-life example. The silent victory. Imagine a narcissistic sibling, David, who has spent years baiting you into endless arguments. His tactics are predictable. Subtle digs at family dinners, exaggerating your faults in front of others, or sending you guilt-laden messages about how you've let him down. In the past, you've fallen into his trap, defending yourself, arguing, or trying to prove your worth. But this time, you choose silence. David sends you a text. "I can't believe you didn't show up to Mom's birthday early to help out. You're so selfish." Instead of replying with explanations or justifications, you let the message sit unread. When he follows up with, "Typical of you to ignore me, you've always been like this," you maintain your silence. No defense, no response, nothing. At the next family gathering, he tries to confront you in person, raising his voice to draw attention. "Why do you always act like you're too good to help out?" You meet his gaze, calm and unmoved, and simply walk away. Your silence echoes louder than any words could. It strips him of the stage he craves, leaving him to grapple with the realization that his attempts to provoke you now fall into the void. The power of the void. Your silence is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of war. Narcissists live for chaos, for the drama that keeps them at the center of attention. When you deny them your energy, you dismantle their power. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It is a vacuum that forces them to confront the emptiness within themselves. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." By choosing silence, you refuse to let their words dictate your peace. The haunting realization: at first, the narcissist will escalate, desperate to provoke a response. They may try harder to draw you into their game, using insults, guilt, or even love bombing. But as their efforts are met with nothing but silence, a chilling truth will begin to set in. They no longer hold sway over you. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their insignificance. It becomes a graveyard where their manipulations go to die. And in that graveyard, the narcissist will come face to face with the thing they fear most: their irrelevance. By choosing silence, you reclaim not just your voice, but your power. It is a deadly silence, a silence that speaks louder than any argument, and it is the silence that will haunt them long after your words have faded. Number 4. Use their own words against them. In the workplace, a narcissist often positions themselves as the star employee, the mastermind behind every success, even if they've done little to earn it. They manipulate conversations, twist facts, and take credit for others' work to elevate themselves. But their biggest weakness lies in their overconfidence. They tend to leave behind a trail of contradictions, exaggerations, and half-truths that you can leverage to expose their real nature. A real-life example. Imagine you're working on a team project. The narcissistic coworker makes minimal effort to contribute, but loudly boasts in meetings that, "I've put in so much time to ensure this project's success." Meanwhile, you've been tracking their lack of involvement. Missed deadlines, ignored emails, and barely their input during brainstorming sessions. The moment comes during a team presentation where they begin claiming sole credit. "I've led the charge on this initiative, ensuring everything went smoothly." This time, you calmly interject, armed with facts. "If we review the timeline, the team hit key milestones while you were out on leave last month. I also recall our brainstorming session where a specific idea was developed by another team member. I'd be happy to pull up the documentation to highlight everyone's contributions." This isn't about being confrontational. It's about calmly inserting truth into their fabricated narrative. By doing so, you dismantle their facade without stooping to their level of drama. Another scenario. The narcissist regularly criticizes others in private, but paints themselves as supportive and collaborative in public. For instance, during a meeting, they might say, "I always encourage open communication and constructive feedback within the team." However, you have saved emails where they've dismissed your suggestions with snide remarks like, "This idea doesn't make sense. Let's not waste time on it." In response, you politely state, "I appreciate your commitment to open communication. I'd like to revisit one of my previous suggestions that seemed to have been overlooked. In our email thread from specific date, I suggested idea, and I believe it aligns well with the goals we're discussing today." This tactful approach forces them to face their inconsistencies without turning the situation into a personal attack. Why this works? Narcissists are deeply invested in their image and rely on others' silence to sustain their manipulative behavior. By using their own words and actions as evidence, you expose their hypocrisy in a way that's undeniable yet professional. It shows you're observant, prepared, and not afraid to stand your ground. More importantly, it sends a clear message. You see through their games, and you will not allow yourself to be a passive participant. As they realize their manipulative tactics are backfiring, they'll begin to tread more cautiously around you, haunted by the knowledge that their lies could be exposed at any moment. Number 5. Force them to take responsibility. Narcissists are masters at dodging accountability. They weave webs of excuses, deflections, and blame shifting to escape the consequences of their actions. But when you refuse to let them evade responsibility, you force them to confront their behavior, a situation they desperately try to avoid. Let's take the example of two people, Sophia and Ryan, both narcissists in their ways, and how their attempts to escape responsibility can be dismantled. Example 1. Sophia, the social butterfly. Sophia is the life of the party, always charming and adored by her social circle. However, she has a bad habit of making promises she doesn't keep. For instance, Sophia volunteers to organize a fundraiser for a mutual friend's cause. She makes grand claims in front of everyone, promising to handle the venue, invitations, and catering. But as the event approaches, she fails to follow through, leaving others scrambling to fix the mess. When confronted in private, Sophia deflects with excuses like, "I've just been so busy lately. You know how much I have on my plate." Or, "No one reminded me. It's not fair to put all the pressure on me." This time, the group decides to hold her accountable. In a meeting, a friend calmly says, "Sophia, we've noticed the tasks you volunteered for haven't been completed. You told us you'd book the venue, but it's still not finalized. Can you explain why that hasn't happened?" When Sophia tries to excuse herself, they continue with facts. "You specifically asked to handle these tasks, and the deadlines were clear. We need you to take responsibility for the delays." Feeling cornered, Sophia has no choice but to admit her failure. Her charm and excuses no longer shield her, and she must face the disappointment of the group. Example 2. Ryan, the workplace manipulator. Ryan is a narcissistic coworker who thrives on taking credit for others' work while avoiding responsibility for mistakes. On a joint project, Ryan dismisses everyone's suggestions and insists on implementing a flawed plan. Predictably, the project falls apart, but when questioned by management, Ryan shifts the blame. "The team didn't support me enough. This wouldn't have happened if they had executed my ideas better." In the past, his team might have stayed quiet to avoid conflict. But this time, they've had enough. During a review meeting, a colleague spoke up. "Ryan, your plan was implemented as you directed, but the issues arose because you overlooked key client feedback that we flagged multiple times. The emails clearly show this was brought to your attention." When Ryan tries to deflect, another team member adds, "Tomorrow forward, we need accountability from everyone involved, including you. What steps will you take to ensure this doesn't happen again?" With facts and collective pressure, Ryan's usual tactics crumble. He is forced to acknowledge his role in the failure, leaving him visibly uncomfortable but unable to escape responsibility. Why these scenarios work? In both cases, Sophia and Ryan rely on deflection and manipulation to avoid accountability. However, by staying calm, presenting factual evidence, and holding firm, their tactics are neutralized. Narcissists thrive on chaos and avoidance, but when confronted with clear boundaries and undeniable truths, they are forced to face the consequences of their actions. This approach not only holds them accountable but also sends a powerful message. Their manipulative strategies no longer work. Their regret will linger as they realize they can no longer operate unchecked in your presence. Number 6. Cut off all contact. For a narcissist, no contact is the ultimate act of rebellion. The one thing they never thought they'd have the courage to do. To them, your presence, your attention, your emotions, your very existence is their lifeline. It doesn't matter if you adore them, hate them, or resent them. As long as you engage, they win. Cutting off all contact is not just a choice, it is a declaration of war on the very foundation of their control. The narcissist thrives on your reactions. They rely on your willingness to explain, defend, or reconcile. They exploit your empathy and weaponize your need for closure, knowing that the more you try to end things peacefully, the more you stay entangled in their web. But when you cut them off completely, no explanation, no drama, no second chances, you deprive them of the power they thought they had over you. You become the one thing they cannot handle, untouchable. The act of going no contact is not easy. It requires unwavering resolve, the ability to silence your doubts and overcome the fear of retaliation. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Cutting off a narcissist is an exercise in that power. It is recognizing that their chaos no longer has a place in your life, and that you control how much access anyone has to your peace. Imagine a scenario. You've endured years of manipulation and emotional exhaustion. Every time you've tried to step back, they've reeled you in with false promises, dramatic apologies, or outright rage. One day, you decide enough is enough. Without a word, you block their number, delete them from social media, and cut ties with mutual friends who serve as their messengers. You change the locks if needed. You make yourself a fortress, impenetrable and silent. The narcissist, of course, won't accept this easily. They will lash out, desperate to regain control. They may attempt to guilt-trip you, telling everyone how cruel you've been. They may send you frantic messages ranging from pleas for forgiveness to angry accusations. But your silence will be louder than anything they can say. Each ignored the message, and each unanswered attempt to provoke will chip away at the facade of control they've built. Their rage will eventually turn to regret as they come to a crushing realization. They no longer have access to you. This is not just a practical decision. It is a profound act of liberation. By cutting off all contact, you take back your autonomy and protect your mental space. You teach the narcissist that they are no longer relevant and that their power over you is an illusion. And in their world, where control is everything, your disappearance is a wound they will carry forever. No contact is not about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life. As Epictetus wisely noted, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Your response in this case is clear. Silence, not out of weakness, but out of strength. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And that silence, deafening as it is, will be the one thing they never recover from. Number 7, expose their weaknesses. For a narcissist, weakness is the ultimate vulnerability, a crack in the armor they work tirelessly to conceal. They build their image on a foundation of superiority and perfection, carefully hiding their insecurities behind a mask of confidence and control. But beneath that mask lies fear. Fear of being seen as inadequate, fear of losing their grip on others, and most of all, fear of being exposed. When you calmly, subtly shine a light on their hidden flaws, you strip them of the very illusion that gives them power. Imagine dealing with a narcissistic relative, an aunt, uncle, or cousin, who thrives on making you feel inferior. Let's call her Aunt Linda. At family gatherings, Linda loves to hold court, boasting about her achievements and belittling others under the guise of helpful advice. She might say things like, "Oh, you're still renting. I can't imagine not owning my own home at your age. It's just a matter of priorities." But what happens when you expose the truth behind Linda's facade? A real-life example, Aunt Linda's hidden debt. At the next family gathering, Linda starts her usual routine, criticizing your financial decisions to elevate herself. "If you'd budgeted better, you could afford to travel more. I just got back from Italy. Amazing, as always." Instead of feeling cornered, you calmly reply with a subtle yet pointed comment. "That's interesting, Linda. It must be hard juggling all that travel with the stress of managing so many credit card payments." Linda's mask slips for just a moment. The family knows she's in debt, but no one dares mention it. Until now. Your remark isn't cruel or confrontational, but it's enough to remind everyone, including Linda, that her perfect life is not as flawless as she pretends. The shift in attention is palpable. For once, Linda is on the defensive, scrambling to regain control of the narrative. Another example, highlighting hypocrisy. Linda often criticizes others for being ungrateful or self-centered, portraying herself as the ultimate family martyr. She might say, "I do so much for everyone, but no one ever appreciates me." This time, instead of staying silent, you calmly point out a contradiction. That's interesting, Linda. I remember last Thanksgiving, you said you wouldn't help cook because you weren't getting enough recognition. It must be hard feeling unappreciated while expecting gratitude in return. Delivered without anger or aggression, this observation forces Linda to confront her hypocrisy. Her carefully crafted image of selflessness begins to unravel, exposing the reality she desperately tries to hide. Why this works? Narcissists like Linda survive by controlling the narrative, ensuring their flaws remain hidden while projecting their insecurities onto others. By calmly and strategically pointing out inconsistencies in their behavior or achievements, you disrupt their control. This doesn't mean publicly humiliating them. It's about exposing the truth in a way that's undeniable yet non-confrontational. When you expose a narcissist's weakness, you force them to confront the reality they've spent a lifetime avoiding. They are not perfect, and their control over others is far more fragile than they'd like to believe. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your strength lies in remaining composed, letting the facts speak louder than their illusions. Exposing their weakness isn't about tearing them down, it's about reclaiming your power. When you reveal their vulnerability, you remind them, and yourself, that their control over you was never as strong as they wanted you to believe. And for a narcissist, there is no greater defeat. Number 8, ignore their false apologies and fake love bombing. For the narcissist, apologies and grand gestures are not acts of remorse, they are weapons. When they sense they are losing control, they will unleash an onslaught of insincere apologies, dramatic declarations of love, and over-the-top gestures designed to manipulate your emotions. They will promise to change, shower you with affection, and play the victim, all to reel you back into their toxic grasp. But beneath the surface lies their true intent: to reset the cycle of manipulation and regain their power over you. Imagine their carefully rehearsed lines. I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I can't live without you. I'll do anything to make this right. Or perhaps they'll flood you with compliments and gifts, saying things like, you're the most important person in my life. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you. For a moment, it might seem genuine. You might feel a flicker of hope that this time will be different. But then you remember, they've said all this before. The narcissist's apologies are hollow, their love bombing a calculated ploy. They do not change because they do not believe they need to. Their goal isn't to repair the relationship, it's to reset their control. This time, you refuse to fall for it. A real-life example, the apology trap. Your narcissistic partner, Alex, has ignored your boundaries repeatedly, disregarded your feelings, and turned every disagreement into an attack on you. After weeks of conflict, Alex suddenly appears remorseful, saying, I've been thinking a lot, and I realize how wrong I was. I'll do anything to make it up to you. But you've heard this before. You've seen how quickly their promises dissolve the moment you let your guard down. So instead of engaging, you remain calm and detached. I appreciate your words, but I need actions, not apologies. When Alex tries to escalate, saying, don't you believe in second chances? Don't you care about what we have? You hold firm, responding, I've given chances before. If you truly want to change, that's up to you, not me. Your refusal to be swayed sends a clear message. Their words no longer hold power over you. Another scenario, the love bombing campaign. After weeks of tension, your narcissistic cousin Emma suddenly starts sending you extravagant gifts and heartfelt messages. She wrote, you've always been the rock of this family. I don't know what I'd do without you. Let's forget everything and start fresh. In the past, this might have softened your resolve, but not anymore. You see through the love bombing for what it is, a desperate attempt to regain your attention. This time, you respond with cool neutrality. Thank you for the gifts, Emma, but I need time to reflect before I can consider rebuilding this relationship. Emma may protest, insisting on immediate forgiveness. But your calm and measured response makes it clear that her attempts to manipulate you with grand gestures will no longer work. Why this works? Narcissists rely on your emotional vulnerability to reset the cycle of control. Their apologies and love bombing are not acts of love or genuine remorse. They are tools of manipulation. By refusing to engage, you reclaim your emotional independence and disrupt their tactics. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Your strength lies in refusing to let their words and gestures dictate your emotions. When you stay calm, detached, and unyielding, you force the narcissist to confront a reality they cannot handle. Their charm no longer works, their apologies fall on deaf ears, and their love bombing is met with indifference. This realization will haunt them, for it signifies the one thing they never believed possible: you've outgrown their control. Number 9. Use the mirror tactic. Narcissists operate under the assumption that their behavior will go unchecked and that their manipulative tactics will never be turned back on them. They thrive on double standards, expecting to dish out criticism, dismissiveness, and entitlement without facing the same in return. But there's a way to disrupt their control: the mirror tactic. By reflecting on their behavior with calm precision, you force them to experience the very chaos they inflict on others. This strategy isn't about revenge or stooping to their level. It's a controlled, deliberate act that exposes their hypocrisy and makes them face the consequences of their actions. And for a narcissist, nothing is more disarming than being treated the way they treat others. A real-life example: the narcissistic coworker. Imagine working with a narcissistic colleague, Emily. Emily thrives on subtle manipulation, talking over you in meetings, downplaying your contributions, and taking credit for your ideas. She dismisses your concerns with patronizing comments like, "Don't take it personally, it's just business," while expecting her every whim to be prioritized. One day, during a team brainstorming session, Emily interrupts you mid-sentence to insert her idea, completely derailing your point. Instead of reacting emotionally, you calmly wait for her to finish, then cut her off just as she starts to elaborate. "Thanks, Emily. I'd like to finish my thought now." Later, when she emails the team claiming credit for a concept you proposed, you reply to all with a neutral but pointed clarification. "Great summary, Emily. Just to clarify, the original idea came from the discussion I started in last week's meeting. I'm glad we're all aligned now." Emily might bristle, but your calm reflection of her behavior forces her to experience the discomfort she so casually inflicts on others. You've exposed her tactics without resorting to aggression or losing your composure. Another scenario, exposing double standards. Emily often expects special treatment. She'll demand flexibility in deadlines but criticize others for minor delays. When she's late on a deliverable, she brushes it off with, "I've been swamped, but you'll just have to understand." The next time she confronts you over a small delay, you mirror her tone and response. "I've been swamped too, Emily. I'm sure you understand." When she protests or tries to escalate, you stay calm and repeat her own words back to her. "That's exactly what you said last week when your report was late. I assumed the same courtesy would apply here." This controlled mirroring exposes her double standard, leaving her with little room to argue without contradicting herself. Why this works? Narcissists are masters of projection. They deflect blame, dismiss accountability, and manipulate others to avoid facing their flaws. The mirror tactic turns their game against them. By calmly reflecting on their behavior, you force them to experience the consequences of their actions firsthand. This approach doesn't involve aggression or retaliation. It's about holding up a mirror and letting their reflection speak for itself. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." The mirror tactic is about choosing your moments wisely and responding with composure to maximize its impact. When faced with their behavior, narcissists often react with confusion or frustration. They may lash out, attempt to shift the narrative, or retreat altogether. But no matter how they respond, the truth becomes inescapable. Their actions, once so effective in manipulating others, now unravel when turned back on them. By using the mirror tactic, you don't just disrupt their control, you reclaim your power, showing them that their behavior will no longer go unchallenged. For a narcissist, the realization that their tricks no longer work is a devastating blow, one that will linger long after the encounter has ended. Number 10. Laugh at their schemes. For a narcissistic spouse, control and manipulation are the tools they use to dominate the relationship. Their schemes are meticulously crafted to elicit a reaction, whether it's anger, guilt, or compliance. To them, every drama they create is a game where the ultimate reward is your emotional investment. But when you respond with laughter, you flip the script entirely. Your amusement at their tactics diminishes their power, turning their carefully laid plans into mere folly. A narcissist's greatest fear is irrelevance, and when you laugh at their manipulations, you deliver a silent but devastating message. You no longer affect me. A real-life example: the manipulative spouse. Imagine your husband, Ethan, a classic narcissist, who thrives on creating arguments to assert his dominance. After forgetting an important date, your anniversary for example, Ethan tries to deflect blame with an over-the-top excuse. "You didn't remind me. If this mattered so much to you, you would have said something. Honestly, it's like you set me up to fail." In the past, you might have argued back, defending yourself and pointing out how unfair his accusation is. But this time you smile and reply lightly, "Wow, Ethan, you've outdone yourself with this one. Blaming me for your forgetfulness? That's creative. What's next? Are you going to blame me for the weather too?" Your laughter and calm tone instantly disarm him. His carefully crafted drama, designed to provoke you into guilt or defensiveness, crumbles into insignificance. Instead of escalating, the tension evaporates, leaving Ethan grappling with the realization that his tactics no longer work. Another scenario: the emotional provoker. Your wife, Sarah, loves to stir up drama before family gatherings, ensuring she's the center of attention. On the day of your niece's birthday party, she suddenly starts an argument over a trivial issue. "You never help me prepare for these things. I'm always the one doing everything, and you don't even care." Instead of engaging in the fight, you chuckle softly and say, "Sarah, it's impressive how you manage to turn every event into a soap opera. Do you ever get tired of being the star?" By turning her provocation into a joke, you undermine her attempt to create chaos. Your humor highlights the absurdity of her behavior, forcing her to confront the futility of her manipulations. Why this works? Narcissists thrive on control, and drama is their favorite weapon. When you laugh at their attempts, you deny them the emotional reaction they seek. Laughter, in this context, is not just a defense mechanism. It's an offensive strategy. It reframes their manipulations as ridiculous rather than impactful, leaving them powerless. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Narcissists rely on your imagination to amplify their schemes. By laughing, you ground yourself in reality, stripping their tactics of the exaggerated importance they depend on. The haunting realization: when you laugh at a narcissist's manipulations, you do more than just deflect their schemes. You reflect their ineffectiveness. To them, your amusement is a brutal rejection of the control they thought they had. It forces them to confront a reality they cannot escape. Their efforts, once so effective, now fall flat. By responding to their drama with humor, you transform their munitions into harmless fireworks. You rob their manipulations of their sting, leaving them frustrated and humiliated by their irrelevance. And in the quiet moments that follow your laughter, they will realize that the person they once controlled has risen above their games. Number 11. Expose the false facade of their perfection. For a narcissist, the image they project to the world is everything. Their allure, their charm, their supposed success. It's all part of a meticulously crafted illusion meant to demand admiration and inspire envy. But beneath the polished exterior lies a fragile ego, terrified of being seen for what it truly is: insecure, uncertain, and deeply flawed. The moment you shine a light on the cracks in their facade, the foundation of their self-perception begins to crumble. They thrive on the stories they tell about themselves, how they're the most successful, the most desirable, the one everyone aspires to be. Yet the louder they boast, the clearer their insecurities become. When you point out the effort behind their effortlessness, you undermine the fantasy they've worked so hard to create. A real-life example: the flamboyant narcissist. Imagine a narcissistic colleague, Amanda, who loves to flaunt her perfect life. She boasts about her expensive wardrobe, her luxurious vacations, and her seemingly flawless social circle. At a work event, she smugly declares, "People always ask me how I manage to stay so put together and successful. Honestly, it's just natural for me." Instead of letting her claim the spotlight, you calmly respond with a subtle jab. "That's interesting. I've always believed real confidence speaks for itself. It doesn't need an audience to validate it. The room grows quiet as Amanda processes the veiled critique. Her attempt to dazzle the crowd now feels hollow. Her carefully constructed narrative, exposed for what it is, a performance. Your words, delivered with composure, plant seeds of doubt in the minds of others, unraveling the web of perfection she's spun. Another scenario. The perfect spouse facade. Now picture your narcissistic partner Daniel, who constantly brags about being the ideal husband. He goes out of his way to ensure others view him as charming, caring, and attentive. But at home, he's dismissive and controlling. At a dinner party, he announces with a smile, "I always make sure your name is treated like royalty. I'm the kind of partner who believes in going above and beyond." Instead of staying silent, you interject with a polite but cutting remark. "That's sweet, Daniel. Maybe I should start keeping notes. It's always nice to hear how you think things should be." Your words expose the gap between his public persona and private reality. Delivered with grace, your comment forces him to confront the fact that his performance is no longer convincing. Why this works? Narcissists rely on their carefully curated image to maintain control. They need others to buy into the fantasy of their perfection, success, and charm. When you expose the effort behind their facade, you dismantle the illusion and force them to confront their vulnerability. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Appearances are nothing. What truly matters is how you conduct yourself." By pointing out the disconnect between their image and their behavior, you remind them, and everyone else, that substance always outweighs appearance. The narcissist's haunting realization. Your calm, deliberate observations act as a mirror, reflecting their insecurities at them. Every boast, every exaggerated claim, every attempt to assert their superiority becomes a double-edged sword. They are forced to realize that their charm is a mask, their confidence a facade, and their perfection a fragile illusion. This revelation isn't just embarrassing, it's devastating. For a narcissist, whose entire existence hinges on the belief that they are above reproach, being exposed feels like a fall from grace. And as they struggle to rebuild their crumbling facade, they are haunted by the truth. You saw through them, and there is no escaping your clarity. Number 12. Passive resistance to narcissists in your life. Passive resistance is an elegant yet powerful tool when dealing with narcissists in various contexts, be it a self-absorbed relative, a manipulative partner, or a drama-loving clubmate. Narcissists crave validation, attention, and compliance to maintain their illusion of superiority. When you subtly refuse to engage with their ego-driven tactics, you undermine their control without the need for open confrontation. By forgetting their boasts, agreeing without enthusiasm, and asking seemingly innocent but sharp questions, you shine a light on their insecurities while maintaining your calm. 1. The narcissistic relative. Forgetting their boasts. Imagine your cousin, Linda, who prides herself on being the golden child of the family. She thrives on sharing exaggerated stories of her successes, expecting everyone to marvel at her achievements. During a family reunion, Linda declares, "My promotion at work proves I'm the best in my department. I'm irreplaceable." Instead of feeding her ego or arguing, you respond with deliberate forgetfulness. "Oh, congratulations, Linda. I thought you mentioned before that you were working in a different department. Did I misunderstand?" Delivered with a calm tone, your question disrupts her narrative, forcing her to either explain inconsistencies or abandon the boast altogether. Your subtle indifference makes it clear that her self-promotion is neither impressive nor memorable. 2. The narcissistic partner, agreeing without enthusiasm. Your spouse, Alex, loves to portray themselves as the ultimate partner, self-sacrificing, intelligent, and indispensable. During a conversation, Alex smugly remarks, "You know, you're so lucky to have me. Most people would kill for a partner as thoughtful and capable as I am." In the past, you might have felt the need to praise or challenge this statement. Now you choose passive resistance. You respond with mild indifference. "That's nice, Alex. I suppose everyone has their strengths." Your lack of enthusiasm subtly deflates their grandiosity. Instead of reacting with admiration or indignation, you send a quiet message. Their self-importance is no longer your concern. 3. The narcissistic clubmate, highlighting their ordinariness. At your local hiking club, your friend Mark constantly positions himself as the group's expert. He exaggerates his experience and belittles others, saying things like, "I've been hiking in conditions way tougher than this. Most people wouldn't last a day where I've been." Rather than arguing or validating his claims, you respond with a polite but grounding statement. "That's great, Mark. It's nice to know even experienced hikers like you enjoy these beginner trails with us." Your remark reframes his boast, gently reminding him and the group that his expertise isn't as extraordinary as he pretends. Delivered with kindness, it dismantles his superiority without creating conflict. Why this works? Passive resistance strips narcissists of the validation they depend on. Forgetting their boasts shows them their self-importance is forgettable. Agreeing without enthusiasm denies them the emotional fuel they crave. Highlighting their ordinariness forces them to confront the reality that they are not as exceptional as they claim. And when you ask pointed questions with an innocent tone, you expose the cracks in their facade without engaging in confrontation. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Passive resistance embodies this principle, allowing you to maintain control over your emotions while subtly disarming their tactics. The aftermath of passive resistance. For narcissists who thrive on admiration and dominance, the realization that their efforts are met with indifference can be haunting. Whether it's Linda's disrupted narrative, Alex's deflated self-praise, or Mark's diminished sense of expertise, they will sense that their influence over you is fading. And for them, there is no greater defeat. Number 13. Shine brightly. Focus on your happiness and success. Nothing unnerves a narcissist more than witnessing the person they sought to diminish rise above their manipulation and thrive. Your happiness, your success, your peace. It's the grand finale they never saw coming. A dazzling display of independence and resilience that exposes their failure to control you. Like fireworks exploding in the midnight sky, your triumphs illuminate the stark reality they've tried so hard to obscure. You don't need them, and you never did. Narcissists thrive on control, believing that they can tether you to their orbit of chaos and self-importance. When you redirect your energy away from their drama and into your growth, you deliver a message louder than words. I am free. A real-life example. The narcissistic ex. Imagine your ex-partner, Emma, who thrived on belittling your dreams, making you feel small so she could feel big. She would say things like, "Why bother with that promotion? You'll never be as successful as you think you can be." After leaving the relationship, you dedicate yourself to personal and professional growth. You earn the promotion she once mocked, start a new business, or pick up hobbies that reignite your passion for life. When mutual friends ask how you're doing, they talk about your thriving career, your glowing confidence, and your newfound joy. Emma, meanwhile, hears these updates and seethes in silence. She can't reconcile the fact that the person she tried to diminish is now shining brighter than ever. One day Emma texts, "Hey, I heard about your promotion. Congrats, you must have had some good luck." Instead of engaging, you reply with lighthearted confidence, "Thanks, hard work does pay off." This short, direct response reveals that you no longer need her validation or fear her criticism. Your success has become the ultimate rebuttal. Another scenario, the narcissistic parent. Your narcissistic mother, Linda, always insisted that your achievements were only possible because of her sacrifices. She loved to say, "You wouldn't be where you are without me." Now, as you build a life of joy and accomplishment, you let your actions speak louder than her words. You excel in your career, nurture meaningful relationships, and find happiness in ways that have nothing to do with her. At family gatherings, when she makes comments like, "It's good to see you doing well. I guess I taught you something right," you smile politely and respond calmly, "I'm proud of the work I've done to get here. It's been quite a journey." Your unwavering confidence highlights the independence she tried to deny you, forcing her to confront the fact that your success is entirely your own. Why this works? For narcissists, control is their lifeblood. They want to be the center of your universe, the force that dictates your emotions and choices. When you shift your focus to your happiness and success, you take that control away. You become untouchable, living proof that their manipulations no longer define you. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By choosing to focus on growth, joy, and self-fulfillment, you reclaim your narrative and remind the narcissist of their greatest failure. They could not break you. The grand finale. Your happiness and success are not just personal victories, they are the ultimate act of defiance against a narcissist's control. Every laugh you share, every milestone you achieve, every moment of peace you savor, it all serves as a reminder that you've outgrown their influence. Like fireworks shattering the darkness, your triumphs illuminate the strength they never believed you had. And while they sit in the shadows, haunted by their inability to dim your light, you stand tall, radiating the brilliance of a life lived on your terms. This is your grand finale, your moment of brilliance. Shine unapologetically, for the greatest revenge is simply living well. Number 14. Love yourself, forgive yourself, and heal. The narcissist's greatest weapon is not their charm, manipulation, or cruelty. It's the guilt and doubt they plant deep within you. They thrive on your inability to forgive yourself for the mistakes they convinced you were yours, for the times you let them back into your life, and for the ways you lost yourself in their chaos. But here's the truth they fear most. Once you choose to love yourself, forgive yourself, and focus on healing, their grip on you dissolves entirely. They cannot hold you back if you refuse to carry the weight of your past. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing the pain they caused or pretending it didn't happen. It's about accepting that you are human and that you did the best you could with the knowledge and strength you had at the time. It's about releasing the shame they imposed on you, reclaiming your narrative, and walking boldly toward a future where your worth is defined solely by you. A real-life example. Releasing the blame. Imagine you've spent years in a toxic relationship with your narcissistic partner, Sarah. She always blamed you for the arguments, convinced you that her outbursts were your fault, and made you feel inadequate at every turn. Even after leaving her, you replay moments in your mind, wondering if you should have done things differently if you were somehow responsible for her unhappiness. One day, you decide enough is enough. Sitting alone, you reflect on everything with kindness, not for Sarah, but for yourself. You whisper aloud, "I did the best I could. I made mistakes, but I'm not my mistakes. I deserve to move forward." The guilt doesn't disappear overnight, but every time it resurfaces, you remind yourself, "I am worthy of forgiveness. I am worthy of healing." You begin to focus on your passions, your friendships, and your health. With each step forward, Sarah's voice in your head grows quieter, replaced by your own words of self-compassion. Another scenario. Letting go of the past. Your narcissistic parent, Robert, spent your childhood making you feel like you were never enough. No matter what you achieved, it was dismissed or compared unfavorably to someone else. Even as an adult, you hear his voice in your head, questioning your worth. One day, you write a letter, not to send, but for yourself. In it, you acknowledge the pain he caused and the ways it shaped you. But then you write, "I forgive myself for believing your words. I forgive myself for not knowing better back then. I release your voice from my mind and replace it with my own." You tear up the letter, feeling lighter as you watch the pieces fall away. This act of release marks the beginning of a journey toward self-acceptance, a path where Robert's influence no longer holds you back. Why this works? Forgiving yourself doesn't excuse what happened, it liberates you from it. Narcissists depend on your guilt and self-doubt to keep you tethered to their influence. By choosing self-love and self-forgiveness, you remove the anchor they've tied to your spirit. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your journey of healing starts the moment you let go of the past and embrace the possibility of a brighter future. The transformative power of forgiveness. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim the energy once spent dwelling on what could have been. You redirect it toward what can be. You focus on nurturing your passions, building meaningful relationships, and cultivating a life where your happiness isn't contingent on anyone else's approval. For the narcissist, this is the ultimate defeat. They can no longer haunt you with shame or regret because you've stripped them of the power to define your worth. Your self-love becomes their irrelevance. Forgiving yourself isn't just an act of healing. It's a statement of freedom. It's the ultimate refusal to let their shadows darken your light. And as you walk forward, lighter and stronger, you'll realize the greatest gift you ever gave yourself was the permission to let go and truly live. Conclusion: the actions you take aren't just steps toward breaking free. They're declarations of your strength, resilience, and refusal to be controlled. By freeing yourself from the grip of the narcissist, you force them to confront their deepest fears: powerlessness and isolation. Each decision to prioritize your happiness, peace, and growth is a resounding statement that they no longer define your life. True victory isn't about revenge, it's about your transformation. It's about rising stronger, freer, and brighter than ever before. This is your rebirth, a life on your terms, no longer overshadowed by their manipulation. You've not only escaped their grasp, but redefined yourself as someone they can no longer reach. If this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with others who may need the same strength. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those ready to take back their power. Finally, let's affirm our commitment to freedom and growth in the comments below. Write, "I choose strength and freedom," to declare that you're no longer bound by anyone's control. Your journey to reclaiming your life starts now. Take the first step and never look back.